My fiancée bragged to her friends that she only wanted my money. So, I made sure she never saw a dime. I'm 29. I used to believe love was simple, a matter of trust, respect, and building a life together. But life has a way of shattering our most cherished beliefs, and my story with my girlfriend, Miley, taught me that lesson the hard way. The networking event where we met was packed with the usual crowd of professionals making small talk over mediocre wine. That's when I saw her across the room, confidently navigating through conversations with an effortless grace that made her stand out from everyone else. Her profession immediately intrigued me. Here was someone who dedicated their life to helping others, who understood compassion and sacrifice. At least that's what I thought at the time. We clicked instantly. Our first date turned into a second, then a third, and before I knew it, we were spending every free moment together. Miley had a way of making me feel understood, seen in a way I hadn't experienced before. One evening, as we sat on my balcony watching the sunset, she opened up about her past. Growing up wasn't easy, she said, her voice soft. We never had much, and I watched my mom struggle to make ends meet. I promised myself I'd build a different kind of life. I squeezed her hand, sharing my own story. My father started with nothing too. Worked his way up from the ground floor to build his company. He taught me the value of hard work and perseverance. I was careful not to mention the extent of my family's wealth. I wanted what we had to be real, untainted by financial considerations. But looking back, the signs were there, the subtle shifts in her attention when money came up, the way her eyes lingered on my car, my watch, my home. After 2 years together, I was convinced she was the one. The proposal was perfect, a private dinner at her favorite restaurant, followed by a walk through the park where we'd had our first date. When I got down on one knee, her eyes filled with tears. "Yes, yes, absolutely yes," she exclaimed, throwing her arms around me. Everything was perfect until I brought up the prenup. We were having dinner at home when I broached the subject. "Babe, I think we should discuss something," I started carefully. "I've been thinking about a prenuptial agreement." The change in her demeanor was instant. Her fork clattered against the plate. "A prenup?" Her voice was sharp. "Why would we need that? Don't you trust me?" "Of course I trust you," I assured her. "It's just a precaution. My family's business." "Your family's business?" She cut in. "What about our future family? Do you think I'm some kind of gold digger?" The argument escalated quickly. She cried, screamed, and threatened to end our engagement. In the end, I gave in, wanting to prove my trust in her. It was the first red flag I chose to ignore. The barbecue at her colleague's house was where everything unraveled. I remember the day clearly, the smell of grilled meat in the air, the sound of ice clinking in glasses, casual conversation flowing freely. When I headed inside to use the bathroom, I wasn't expecting to overhear the conversation that would change everything. Miley's voice drifted from the living room, accompanied by female laughter. "Girl, you really hit the jackpot with this one," someone said. "Tell me about it." Miley replied, her voice dripping with satisfaction. "His money is definitely the best part. And get this, he wanted a prenup." More laughter. "No way. What did you do?" "Threw a fit, obviously. Told him if he really loved me, he wouldn't even suggest it." Men are so easy to manipulate when they think they're in love. My world stopped spinning. The woman I loved, the one I thought I knew, was revealing her true colors when she thought I couldn't hear. That evening, I barely spoke on the drive home. Miley noticed something was wrong. "Babe, are you okay?" "You've been quiet." "Just tired," I mumbled, but inside, I was screaming. A few days later, I decided to confront her. I brought up the prenup again, watching her reaction carefully. "Why are we talking about this again?" she demanded. "I thought we settled this. Would you still marry me if I insisted on it?" I asked quietly. Her hesitation spoke volumes. I'd have to reconsider our future together." "Like you reconsidered it with your friends at the barbecue?" The color drained from her face. "What are you talking about?" "I heard you, Miley. Every word about how my money is the best thing about me. How you have to cash out if things don't work out. Baby, no, you don't understand. She backpedaled frantically. It was just girl talk. It didn't mean anything. It meant everything. I said, standing up. The wedding's off. What followed was chaos. She went from crying to screaming in seconds. You're nothing without your money. She shrieked. You're boring, pathetic. I've been sleeping with someone else anyway. She started grabbing things, vases, picture frames, anything within reach, and hurling them across the room. I retreated to my bedroom, locking the door as she raged outside. The next morning, she was gone, leaving behind a trail of destruction that would cost nearly $1,000 to repair. But her physical rampage was just the beginning. Within hours, my phone started blowing up with messages from mutual friends and acquaintances. How could you be so controlling? One message read, Miley told us everything. It turned out she'd spent the night crafting a narrative that painted me as a financial abuser. According to her social media posts, I controlled every aspect of her spending, forced her to ask permission for basic purchases, and used my wealth to manipulate her. She claimed the prenup discussion was just the final straw in a long pattern of financial abuse. He wouldn't even let me buy coffee without questioning it. She wrote in a lengthy Facebook post that quickly gathered sympathetic comments. He used his money to keep me dependent on him, and when I finally stood up for myself, he threw me out. The lies were elaborate and carefully constructed. She even posted screenshots of our text conversations, taken out of context to support her claims. A simple message asking about a large, unusual charge on our shared credit card was twisted into evidence of my controlling behavior. My phone rang. It was my sister. What the hell is going on? Miley's sister just called me crying about how you've been treating her. I took a deep breath. None of it's true. Let me explain what really happened. As I told my sister about the barbecue conversation and Miley's true motives, I realized I needed to take action. I called my lawyer, who had helped with my family's business matters for years. Document everything, he advised. Security footage, photographs of the damage, text messages, emails, everything. We're not just dealing with property damage now. We're looking at potential defamation. I spent the next few days meticulously gathering evidence. The security cameras had captured not just her destructive rampage, but also conversations where she openly admitted her financial motivations. I had emails where she discussed expensive purchases without any hint of the control she now claimed I exercised. They're not going to know what hit them, my lawyer said as we reviewed the evidence. Her story's about to fall apart. We filed a lawsuit for both the property damage and defamation. The court proceedings were intense. Miley arrived with her own lawyer, playing the role of the victimized woman perfectly. She even wore waterproof mascara, anticipating the tears she would strategically shed during her testimony. Your Honor, her lawyer began, my client was subjected to months of financial control and emotional manipulation. But evidence doesn't lie. When we played the security footage of her bragging about avoiding the prenup to cash out, her performance crumbled. The text messages and emails we presented painted a clear picture of a woman who had free access to funds and made independent financial decisions. The judge saw through her act. Not only did we win the $987 judgment for property damage, but the court also issued a statement that found her defamation claims malicious and without merit. I made sure the truth reached everyone. I created a detailed social media post, not out of revenge, but to set the record straight. I included clips from the security footage, screenshots of her contradictory messages, and the court's findings. I never wanted to make this public, I wrote, but when someone tries to destroy your reputation with lies, the truth is your best defense. The response was immediate. Her carefully crafted image as the victim crumbled as friends, family, and colleagues saw who she really was. The same people who had initially condemned me based on her lies now sent messages of apology and support. Now, months later, I'm slowly rebuilding my life. The betrayal still stings, but it's taught me valuable lessons about love, trust, and the importance of trusting my instincts. Some nights, when I'm alone with my thoughts, I still wonder how I missed the signs for so long. Last week, I ran into one of our mutual friends who had initially believed Miley's lies. I should have known better, she said, stirring her coffee nervously. Looking back, there were so many red flags. The way she always talked about money, how she'd make little comments about her ex's financial situations. We all see what we want to see sometimes, I replied, surprised by how little bitterness I felt. The conversation with her made me realize how far I'd come. The anger and hurt are still there, but they no longer define me. I've started being more open with my family about my experiences, and their support has been invaluable. My father, who had always been more of a business mentor than an emotional confidant, surprised me with his wisdom over dinner last month. You know, son, he said, setting down his glass of wine, I worried about this happening to you. Money can be like a magnifying glass. It makes good people better and bad people worse. Your mother and I got together when I had nothing but ambition and a beat-up car. How did you know she was different? I asked. He smiled. Because she believed in me when there was nothing to believe and accept me. Those words stuck with me. But then I remember that love, real love, shouldn't come with conditions or price tags. It shouldn't require manipulation or threats. And while my heart may be bruised, it's also wiser. The future feels uncertain, but for the first time since everything fell apart, it also feels like my own. Yesterday, I received a text from an unknown number. It was Miley. I miss you, it read. I know I made mistakes, but we could try again. I've changed. I stared at the message for a long moment before deleting it without reply. Some bridges once burned should stay that way. Some lessons, once learned, shouldn't need repeating. As my father always said, sometimes the most expensive lessons in life are the ones we get for free. I just never expected love to be one of them. But maybe that's exactly what I needed. A reminder that true worth isn't measured in dollars and cents, but in the integrity of one's character and the authenticity of one's heart. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them. So please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.